Over the last 3 years, the economy has defied recession forecasts, but polls are suggesting that it remains one of the most important issues for voters, especially those who are frustrated over the growing cost of basic necessities, including food. Spectrum News Orlando reporter Jeff Allen spoke to one voter in this report.
By the time this truck rolled in, there were already about 100 cars lined up, waiting for what that truck is about to deliver. Some drivers lined up just after midnight. It's a first-come, first-serve food drive. Amy Wilkins is in the fourth line of cars from the front, ready to wait as long as she needs to.
It's cold when you come in the morning time, but then later on it gets warm.
Wilkins says with higher grocery prices, she can no longer afford the food she needs.
I try to add up in my head how much it costs for the groceries, and whatever is there, and I don't think I can take it, I have to put it back.
Wilkins isn't alone. Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida says searches for food assistance online have doubled in the last year. So cost of living is on the minds of many Central Floridians as we head into the 2024 election.
The economy got to get better because the prices are going up. It's hard when you have a fixed income.
About 2 years ago, Wilkins began coming to this twice-monthly food drive at Patmos Chapel in Apopka. Church volunteers load up trunks full of several boxes of fresh produce, frozen meat, enough food for a couple of weeks. Arnell Smalley says demand picked up during the pandemic and has only grown since.
When God said, when they were hungry, we gave them food. When they were thirsty, we gave them something to drink. And that's what we're trying to do here. When people are hungry, people are thirsty, we want to make sure that we're giving them ample opportunity to come through the line.
Smalley says the church went from serving about 200 families to about 600 families. Most drivers here aren't picking up food for just themselves. Wilkins shares her food with several other families.
Even when I'm ready to deliver food, I'm like, Amy, you got to do this, get up, let's go. They need it just as much as you need it.
Wilkins says because of health problems, she could no longer work as a caretaker at a hospital, but she never lost her urge to help others.
I care about people. I try to help whoever need help. Friends that eat meat and stuff, whatever meat I have, I give it to them, and whatever food I don't use, I give it to them. So it's a helping hand.
Wilkins now stocked up with food for her and some of her neighbors, enough for about 2 weeks. But with the fluctuating cost of gas, it's still a struggle. She can't do this forever. She says prices need to come down.
Some of the time when I fill my car with gas, $50 worth of gas, and I have to make my runs to take food for other people, I'm like, God, you got to send me a blessing.
Today, that blessing received. Her future uncertain.
Without helping hands, we won't make it in life.
In Apopka, in Orange County, Jeff Allen, Spectrum News.
Veteran business journalist Caleb Silver, who is the editor-in-chief of Investopedia, joins me now with more on the role that the economy could play in the general election. Caleb, the president said during the State of the Union speech, the recovery from the pandemic economically is the greatest story never told. Let's try and tell some of that story. And let's start with the cost of living, which is really what is bothering so many people. Let's show the chart about inflation. There's a pandemic that really led to a decline in economic activity. And if you look at that red line during the Trump years, there was one inflation rate, and then it dipped, and then it skyrocketed right after the height of the pandemic. What was that all about?
Yeah, that was about the supply chain, right? We just couldn't get enough materials, products to consumers through the supply chain, everything from toilet paper to semiconductors, and that drove prices higher. And then as the pandemic eased, we did a lot of revenge spending. We started going out, we started traveling a lot, right? We started spending on those services. Those prices went way up. So first it was goods, then it was services, and inflation has come way down from those highs in July of 2022, 9+%. Down to about 3.1%. It's still rising, though. That doesn't mean prices are going down. It just means the rate of growth is slower. So if prices are still high, especially for the essentials.
And even as the inflation rate comes down, it doesn't happen evenly all around the country, right? Where you just saw Central Florida, they're in a different position than some other parts of the country, right?
Absolutely. When you look around the country and you look where prices are high, especially the high cost of living, you're going to look at cities like Los Angeles, like New York City, like Phoenix, San Diego, even in southern Florida. If you look around for general lower cost of living, that's the Southeast, that's parts of the Midwest and parts of the Upper West. But in general, prices are high for food, for shelter, and for insurance. Those prices just kept rising year after year.
And so now perceptions of who's responsible and who has the best plan to turn all of this around really differs between Democrats and Republicans. The recent polling finds that there's this partisan divide where Democrats see more positive news about inflation and the economy compared with Republicans. Independents are somewhere in the middle, but that Republican number is startling. Why is Biden not given more credit for what good things are happening?
Well, when you still are paying more every month for the essentials, you're going to look to blame somebody. Now, the Democrats do back Biden on most things, and there has been a lot of job gains, right? We still have a very low unemployment rate. We've had millions of jobs created almost all the way back from the pandemic across most sectors. So those things are good. And also wage gains, which we haven't seen in a long time, about 4.1% year over year. If you're making $75,000 and you're getting a 4% raise, you're not feeling it as much as if you're making $250,000. So what is Biden doing? He's talking about shrinkflation, right? He's talking about taxes on billionaires, trying to make them pay their fair share. He's trying to gin that up, but he does get support from the unions, which typically lean Democratic. He supported the UAW on its strike. That was successful. UPS drivers. So he's getting the support there, but not broadly speaking, because the economy to a lot of people still feels like it's in low gear.
Yeah, and it really is startling because the unemployment numbers, looking at the broadest possible range, over like say 20 years or even 50 years, it's at a very, very low level. There are places where you can still see lots and lots of help wanted signs, in part because I've got the graph right there. It's skyrocketed. It spiked, of course, during the pandemic. But then look where it is now. It's all the way down under 4% unemployment.
Yeah, and the Federal Reserve, our central bank, considers full unemployment between 3.5% and 4%. There's full employment in this country, and there's still 8 million plus jobs available. So if you're looking for a job, you're going to find it in healthcare, you're going to find it in government, you're going to find it in health services. There's plenty of jobs out there, and wages have grown. But for a lot of people, they just don't feel like they can make ends meet because prices, while they're not going up as much, are still pretty high and are a lot higher than they were compared to 2019.
Okay. Thanks so much for coming by. Always good to see you.
Thank you.
All right, that was the first in a series of conversations we will have about the economy on The Big Deal as the general election gets closer. Throughout the year, we're going to talk more in depth about housing and the workforce and much, much more. And we're not done just yet. Up next, we will take a look at Donald Trump's busy legal schedule and who he's considering to be his running mate. Stay with us. Thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth political coverage, and click the subscribe button right here. You can also download our app or watch us on TV to learn more about the candidates, where they stand on the issues, and more. We'll see you then.